Okay, I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting for the Village of Tinley Park Planning Commission to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move on to taking the roll call. Lori, could you please take the roll call?
Commissioner Gaskell.
Present.
Commissioner Gatto.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Manny.
Present.
Commissioner Merrick.
Here.
Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Montalvo. Commissioner Sepisi.
Here.
Chairman Gray.
Present. Okay, we do have a quorum. Staff will move to communications. Any communications at this time?
No.
Okay, move on to approval of the meeting minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 23rd, 2026 regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting.
Motion.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Sepisi. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Commissioner Manny. All those in favor of approving the March 19th, 2026 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. The motion is carried. Okay, we'll move on to item 1 for tonight. Item 1 is a public hearing to consider recommending that the village board grant Alan Schwartz and Jessica Luchin variations from section 3.H.1 of the Tinley Park zoning ordinance regarding setback requirements for a swimming pool and for a deck at 17824 Woburn Road in the R3 Single Family Residential Zoning District. May I have a motion to continue open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Manny. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The public hearing is open. I have received verification of the public hearing notice being published in the newspaper, so anyone wishing to speak on the matter will be sworn in before they speak, but after staff presents. So go ahead, staff, and please present.
Okay, so this is a variation for 17824 Woburn Road. It is a single-family home in the Radcliffe Place PUD. The lot is 11,360 square feet. The home was built in 2004, and there is a significant for the Midwest anyway, significant upward slope in the rear yard, as well as a large drainage easement, which restricts what can be built in the backyard. So all of the surrounding properties are developed, and the Radcliffe Place PUD does have some dimensional standards, although they don't really come into play for the request. So our zoning ordinance, section 3H1, creates different setback standards and kind of placement requirements for a variety of different structures and uses. The code requires that decks be situated at least 5 feet from all property lines, but they may encroach into the required side yard setback. And swimming pools may encroach into the rear setback. They must be in the backyard, which is to say behind the rear wall of the house. And they must also be 5 feet from all property lines. So the petitioner is requesting a 3-foot variation from the minimum distance from the property line requirement for both a deck and a swimming pool. So here is the survey for the property. It shows the large drainage easement in the back of the property. It ranges from 25 feet to 30 feet in depth. So it's pretty substantial. The home has a existing concrete patio that takes up most of the buildable area in the backyard. And the petitioner is hoping to place the pool and the deck along the south property line in the side yard. The petitioner included this sketch with their request to kind of diagrammatically explain the request. So they've got, one second, let me hop back. They've got 19.3 feet between the south wall of the house and the south property line. There is a walkway there, so they don't want to build over that or obstruct the walkway. So they're proposing to put a 12-foot by 21-foot oval-shaped pool in the side yard, 2 feet from the property line. And then they're also proposing to construct a deck for accessing the pool. And they're showing that here in yellow. The deck is the width of the proposed pool, and it's 10 feet in the other direction. They're proposing to add a lattice screen on the south side of the deck, so there'll be a little bit more privacy between them and the neighbor. And this placement allows them to stay out of the easement, keep the pool in the backyard, and only encroach into the side yard. And then I have the standards up, and I will note that I received a letter of support from the neighbor to the south, so that would be the neighbor that would be most impacted by this request. And I'll read that into the record, I guess now, or if you want to discuss it first, I can read the letter later. It's very short.
Go ahead and read it
Okay.
now, yeah, sure.
To whom it may concern, I am writing to express my support for my neighbors at 17824 Woburn Road and their request to allow the construction of a pool and deck closer to the property line than is currently permitted. I believe that they have thoughtfully planned this with great consideration, and I fully support this variance request and respectfully ask that it be approved. Sincerely, Lucy Lamargo. And she's the owner of 17830 Woburn Road, the house immediately to the south.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. Does the applicant have anything to add? Would you like to add anything? If so, I'll have to swear you in. So-
that's fine.
okay.
You stand over there.
Yep, stand over there so we can hear you on the mic, and
Cool.
same with the live feed. State your name.
Alan Schwartz.
Alan Schwartz. Alan, do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
So slight correction, the pool won't be in the side yard. Pool's still gonna be in the rear yard, just the deck will be in the side.
Yes, sorry.
Yep.
It'll be in the distance from the property line, but not the
Yep.
actual legal definition of side.
Yep, just because that would be a different variance, we're
Yeah.
not going down that path, so. That's what I just wanted to say, and then, you know, we had the village out a couple times to look at it, they walked the property with us a couple times. It was Walter Smart and Kyle Vester with engineering, and we were thinking all the different ways to make this work, and literally they said this is the only spot that we can make any pool work in our yard, just because of, you know, we're encumbered with 91% of our yard not being, we can't build anything on there, unfortunately, because Kyle's like, I won't let you do it because we need access sometimes, if, just in case, the sewer. And on the other side is the actual sewer drain, so like, we don't want to put anything on that side either. And it's not even, it's a lot smaller space. So this is really the only spot we can put this. Any questions for me that I could try to answer?
Sure, Alan. I'll ask the commissioners. We'll begin with Commissioner Hamilton. Any comments or questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
And then we'll move on to Commissioner Andre Marek.
No, I don't have anything right now.
Okay. Commissioner Gatto.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Commissioner,
Same, no comments, no questions.
okay. Commissioner Gaskell.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. Commissioner Sepisi.
Just one question, the fence that it shows here running along the south side, what type and how tall?
I believe it's an iron rod fence that was there that all the neighbors have, same one, and I'm guessing, I think it's either 5 or 6 feet, I never measured it, but all the neighbors seem to have the same fence guy, that obviously one on that side has that same fence.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Martinez.
My question is, have you thought about maybe moving it 1 foot over to the north, just to maybe be able to provide some sort of arborvitae to screen the pool?
Sorry, repeat that question?
So I don't think 2 feet is enough for arborvitae to maybe fit there to screen the pool. Have you thought about maybe, is there at least 1 more foot that you can move it over to be able to provide some screening?
We have a walkway there, so if we were to move it up, we'd have to break up the concrete, and it wouldn't be, we'd have to move everything over on the walkway for the tree. And we're putting up fencing anyway, which would be, I think, provide more. Everybody, they're hard to keep alive, quite honestly, also. So I know that from my friend's experience. They've all died.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a good idea, respectfully, but, you know.
I guess, just to state on the record, I would, I guess, prefer some additional screening, just because I know this current property owner that's, your neighbor, you know, they're fine with it, but, you know, down the line, I don't
Right.
want future property owners to have an issue being so close to the
Right.
pool.
Okay.
Okay. I think it fits kind of a unique situation, like you said, 90% of your backyard you cannot use because of that drainage easement.
91.7.
Yeah. But who's counting, right? No. And then, the utilities on the other side as well. So,
Correct.
I mean, in order for you to kind of maximize the enjoyment of your property, it looks like that is, as you mentioned, Mr. Smart and Kyle walked your property. It does appear to me like this would be, a reasonable alternative. It is good that, like Michael read the testimony from your neighbor,
Mhm.
but Commissioner Martinez makes a fair point. Like, if somebody moves and then all of a sudden, they may have an issue. But as it stands, I have no comments that are detrimental to it. I think it is a good candidate for the variation, so. With that, yeah,
Just
Commissioner
a
Hamilton.
question here. So somebody moves, the new property owner doesn't like it,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's already been approved, right?
Yeah, of course, right,
I mean, there'd be friction, but
yeah.
No friction. I get along with everybody.
we don't.
But the other piece is that
Along the
if they
rules.
were looking at the property, they'd know that was there, right?
Yeah.
And so they might choose a different home because they see that and they don't want that next door to their house or something.
They're close.
Never underestimate people's tendency to complain, right? I had a neighbor that moved, we're by the train tracks, and he'd complain every day about the train. I'm like, you know it was there. Either way. So, with that said, any other comments? Okay, so anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, well, Mr. Allen, you may take a seat. I'm gonna ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion?
Motion
So-
to close the public hearing.
Commissioner Hamilton, second. Commissioner Manning, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion is carried, the public hearing is closed. You went over the standards, so we'll move to the motion right there, that's up on the screen for the variation. If somebody could read it.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the village board grant the petitioners Alan Schwartz and Jessica Lutchen a variation from section 111H, or what is that, 3? 3. Sorry, 3H, 3.H.1 of the zoning ordinance to reduce the minimum setback of a swimming pool and deck along the south side property line from 5 feet to 2 feet for the property at 17824 Woodburn Road in the R3 PD Single Family Residential Radcliffe Place PUD zoning district in accordance with the plans submitted and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the May 7, 2026 staff report.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Gatto, seconded by Commissioner Manny. Lori, if you could take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Manning,
Yes.
Commissioner Merrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, motion is carried, Ellen, and so this will go to the village board on June 2nd. So good luck, and get with staff on the time to attend.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, take care. Okay, we'll move on to item 2 for tonight. Item 2 is a public meeting to consider approving expansion of the telecommunications ground equipment enclosure at 18301 Ridgeland Avenue in the R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District. This is not a public hearing, so we'll just proceed. Staff, go ahead and proceed with your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The subject property, 18301 Ridgeland Avenue, is located at the southeast corner of 183rd Street and Ridgeland Avenue. Property is about 3.5 acres, and this is village-owned property. It's public works location. It consists of a pump house and water tanks related to the village water system. Additionally, on the site, there is a 110-foot telecommunications monopole with the associated ground-mounted equipment. The property is zoned R1, which is a single-family zoning district. It is surrounded by other residentially zoned property. However, directly due west is a religious institution use, and across the street to the north is Forest Preserve. We are here for site plan approval. So the village's wireless services facilities regulations require site plan approval when there are changes to the ground equipment that would, quote, alter the existing footprint of the existing ground equipment enclosure. And so that is what we have here. The applicant is proposing a 12.5 by 20, 250 square foot expansion of the existing telecommunications ground equipment enclosure. The new area would be surrounded by a masonry wall and landscaping. This is village-owned property. The village was part of a 2022 lease agreement, which does allow for the expansion. So village has granted approval for use of our property for the expansion. So the existing equipment enclosure is surrounded by a solid wood fence. Section 3 of the code, however, requires screening for freestanding cell tower ground mounted equipment area to be a masonry shelter between 6 and 8 feet tall. So the existing wood fence is legal non-conforming. The new expansion does need to comply with code, and what is proposed would. It is a CMU masonry wall to match the existing 8-foot wood fence. There's landscaping, particularly on the east and west side of the existing enclosure that is to remain. And surrounding the perimeter of the new enclosure, you see on the screen the landscape plan. They would plant 12 arborvitae and 8 lilacs around the enclosure. So as site plan review, many of the village's standards aren't really directly applicable to this type of request. There's no new building, so the architectural standards regarding building materials and design are not applicable. Something somewhat applicable is a standard regarding screening mechanical equipment from public view. In this case, we are enclosing this ground-mounted equipment with screening via masonry wall and landscaping. And then finally, I just would want to note there is access on the site via an easement from 183rd Street to the equipment area. And then here we have, again, the standards for site plan approval involving building material, cohesive building design, compatible architecture, color, sustainable architectural design, defined entry, roof, building articulation, screening of mechanicals, trash enclosure, and then with the site plan, building a parking location, loading areas, outdoor storage, interior circulation, and pedestrian access. Again, a lot of those not necessarily directly applicable to a telecommunications equipment enclosure area. That's all I have. The applicant was a representative who had been here 2 weeks ago, was planning on attending. However, just shortly before the meeting started, he did communicate to us that his vehicle broke down, so unfortunately he is not here.
Okay.
I can do my best to answer any questions.
Sure, thank you, Mark. We'll start with any comments on this end. Commissioner Martinez?
I think you said it was gonna be a CMU wall. Can there be any veneer attached to that?
They're not proposing that. Whether or not it could be, but again, that's not what's proposed.
Okay, just wondering if we have kind of purview over that.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. Commissioner Sepisi,
Nothing at all.
Commissioner Gaskell,
I have nothing.
Commissioner Manning,
No comments.
Commissioner Gatto,
No comment.
Commissioner Merrick.
Yeah, can I follow up with Commissioner Martinez's comment? So do we have purview over what the material would look like, as opposed to just a blank masonry wall?
We can follow up with them and ask them. That could be a condition of approval. It's unfortunate the applicant's not here
Yeah.
to kind of directly respond to their willingness to do that. That would be unfortunately the only hiccup. It does, kind of fit into, as architectural approval, we do have that ability. The code though does just say masonry material.
Okay, I mean, because the actual water tanks look really nice,
Yeah.
right? They're taken care of, they're painted, right? And even though there's screening, we'd want what's behind there to look good as well. So I'll stop there.
Okay. Commissioner Hamilton.
No comments.
Okay, I don't have any other new comments. As you mentioned, Mark, just to follow up, based on the comments from Commissioner Martinez and Merrick on that. With that said, is there anything else you need from us on this side, or you will just return to them with those notes?
Yes, we would obviously need approval of the site plan here tonight. We can follow up with them and, communicate that the village is desirous that they put a veneer on there. And certainly that would be them going above and beyond the code, so they wouldn't need to come back, to do that.
Okay. Could I do a quick straw poll to see if any of the commissioners here would be in favor? Because I don't want to just assume just because two spoke. So a straw poll on, just raise your hand if you think.
Can I ask
Sure,
a
go
question first? To Mr. Merrick's comment about if the building is screened, does that mean that it's out of public view, correct?
No, I mean, we know that having screening makes it partially out of public view, but those plants that are planted there it looks perfect, like it's gonna block everything, but that's never the case, right? We actually will
Okay.
see the wall
And
that's
some of
behind
those
it.
are seasonal too.
No leaves.
Okay, that's,
Well, I guess, rather than have that as the full condition, just like, to at least have some sort of idea of what it's going to look like, right? I mean, because it still may be aesthetic, depending on what type of, block they use, right? And how it is. Some of those are pretty nice, so I don't know if we necessarily need to ask for an upgrade that's perhaps, but either way, I don't know how you put that in as a condition, but who would want to see something that adds any sort of veneer to it? Raise your hand. Okay, and then who would just like to, this would just be, at least staff sees that it's aesthetic looking. Whether it's veneer or anything else, yeah. Okay. I don't know if that helps or not, it was.
I think, it wasn't a majority, but to certainly follow up with them and just make the requests, and if
Right.
that's something that they're willing to do, then that would be great. But then, if it ends up just being the way it is in the plans, then, that's all they would be required to do.
Right. And I only say, because I know, from the one street, you don't see it, but from those pictures, you can see there's a subdivision, and that's who would be looking at it. So, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it would be from, Ridgeland, driving past it, even with the landscaping, there would be some visibility there. From the north, you wouldn't see it because the existing enclosure would block it, and then from the east, the water, top tanks are in the way. But from the west, the southwest from Ridgeland, it would be in view.
Okay.
said that they're gonna be coming back to us again to get the final approval or something?
No, this would be if the plan commission votes to approve it, this
Because
would.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves since we don't have a rep here to tell us what's gonna be built to be able to ask the questions, but I'm sure it's something the village could suggest further on, like you guys could suggest further on when they get to the next step, like what are the materials gonna be in that?
Yeah, we can, again, as I said, we can make that suggestion, that we would prefer that they provide veneer or some sort of architectural enhancement on the wall. We could make that recommendation to
I
them.
wouldn't make it a condition, though.
That, I mean, that's up to the plan commission.
I want to make it a condition, but I do think like aesthetics would matter, right? I mean, the bottom line is whether it looks nice. I've seen some, block walls or CMU walls look pretty cold and, and then there's some that have a little bit of, aesthetics
Yeah.
to them.
Could-
So-
Because we're just working with the wood fence as is, so I don't think the wood fence is attractive, so,
No.
prefer something
Yeah.
a little bit better.
Good point, like the
Um,
picture there isn't like,
Could we
So-
maybe flesh it out a little more, like different color of CMU? Does that kind of fly a little more?
I'm-
Or the rough texture, the
Yeah, I was
stone
gonna say that.
texture versus a smooth, like, can you guys discuss that a little bit so we can
Yeah.
have something on the record for them?
I'm pretty comfortable with staff's kind of purview or review of whatever enhancement may seem reasonable. Maybe just something that's neutral tone or just your common masonry, like brick colors. I'm not necessarily looking for them to add brick or full stone, a veneer or some sort of application, like you said, that gives a little bit more texture.
So it doesn't look like the inside of an unfinished basement.
right,
Right?
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
They could just plant ivy.
So, I mean,
That's what
Uh,
seasonal do.
are we able to say per
Can make
staff,
it-
per staff's review?
Yes, conditioned on, architectural enhancement, to be reviewed by staff.
Okay. Condition of architectural enhancement to be reviewed by staff. So somebody would have to read that into the motion. So at this time, if there's no other comments, somebody could read the motion with that added phrase in there.
I make a motion to grant the petitioner site plan approval for the expansion of telecommunications ground equipment area with masonry enclosure and landscaping at 18301 Ridgeland Avenue in accordance with the plan submitted and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the May 7th, 2026 staff report, subject to staff review of an architectural enhancement.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Martinez, seconded by Commissioner Sepisi. Lori, could you take a roll call?
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Manny,
Yes.
Commissioner Merrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes, okay, the motion is carried. Okay. Move on to item 3. Item 3 is a public hearing to consider recommending that the village board grant Paul Spass variations to section VB Schedule 2 of the zoning ordinance for a variation and reduction of the minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet to 6,049 square feet, and for a variation to allow construction of a home on each lot exceeding the maximum allowable floor area ratio of 0.5 on the properties of 6812 180th Court and 680, I'm sorry, I think I have that wrong. 6806 180th Court and 6812 180th Court in the R5 Single Family Residential Zoning District. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I make a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Gaskell, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Manny. All those in favor of opening the public hearing say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The public hearing is open. I did receive certification of the public hearing notice being published in the local newspaper. So anyone wishing to speak on this matter can, after I swear them in and after the staff presents their presentation. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. So the subject properties are two at 6806 and 6812, 180th Court, are located just one property west of Oak Park Avenue on the north side of 180th Court. Each property is 6,049 square feet. They are 60 feet wide each and 100.81 feet deep. The image up to the upper right is of the Braylon Point subdivision. So you can see the 1, 2, 3. So these are lots 1 and 2 of that subdivision. So in 2024, that subdivision was created, and that whole property, which is about 23,000 square feet, was rezoned from 1 to 3 lots, and it was originally Legacy NG. The Lot 3 was not rezoned. It remained Legacy NG. So the 2024 rezoning allowed larger lot widths and front yards to be more compatible with the other properties on the block. So going west, you can see there are single-family homes. A legacy district is a bit different with the lot width requirements. They have maximums, so max of 40 feet wide and a max front yard of only 15 feet. In 2024, the re-subdivision, there was an erroneous omission of the R5 code minimum lot area requirement of 7,500 square feet. At the time in 2024, the zoning entitlement submittal did not include plans for the request, so we did not have an ability to check for FAR as well. So as far as the zoning district, as I mentioned, there's single-family detached homes along the block. Those are part of R5. R5 is also to the north, so we have R5 to the north, south, east, west. As far as what is there are on that block 11 single-family homes, and all the R5, with the exception of along Oak Park Avenue. And then on the cul-de-sac to the north, those are a series of two-family detached dwellings. So as I mentioned, the existing properties on the block of 180th Court are a mix of two-story and split-level single-family detached homes. So given an aerial with a GIS approximate measuring tool, the staff looked at what we'd see as the roofline rough building footprint and noted that one home, which you could see at the bottom left of the cul-de-sac, has a very large square footage and a large yard. It is a full two-story, and from a bird's eye view, it appears to have a basement in the back. So ignoring the basement, it appears to be about, in total, with the two stories combined, about 5,400 square feet on a 9,627 square foot lot. So, you know, we don't have technical drawings, but it's likely a little bit over on what the FAR would require for that zoning district. But this is just meant as a comparison to nearby properties. So average footprint, as you can see in the table here on the right, is again approximate, and doing an average on this block. This is just a footprint, so it does not account for multiple levels. It appears to be about 2,100 square feet. So just to recap on code definitions and requirements for floor area ratio. Max FAR is more or less the numerical value that you get when you divide the gross floor area of the building by the lot area. So the zoning code's calculation to do FAR, important distinction is gross, not usable. We have two different definitions. So usable will exclude many things. If we were looking at house sizes, for example, you know, we would exclude garages and, you know, built out, you know, not roughed in areas of the basement, et cetera. In this case, it's gross, so I'll read the definition, because this is relevant to the level of relief. The sum of the gross horizontal areas of the floors within the outside walls of the building, including basements, elevator shafts, and stairwells at each story, floor space used for mechanical equipment, penthouse, half-story, and mezzanine or interior balcony, and the gross floor area of any and all accessory structures. So in R5, the max of doing that division to get the FAR is 0.5. So for these properties, the max allowable would be 3,024 and a half square feet. If it were a 7,500 square foot lot, it would be 3,750 square feet. So here for the variations request, the petitioner, Mr. Spass, wishes to build single-family homes on each of these 2 lots, and just as a side note, does still conceptually anticipate townhomes on Lot 3. So the request is 2 variations. It's to reduce the minimum lot area allowance to build these homes, so a relief of 1,451 square feet. And then this variation was noted due to permit review. When Mr. Spass brought in the drawings, staff discovered the lot requirement omission. So as part of this history for this relief, staff worked with the petitioner on adjusting the plans to be able to meet the code, otherwise as close as possible. So the only other variation, the second of which is max floor area ratio. So these homes are almost exactly the same. They're a little bit of tiny differences, but they're only about 27 square feet off from each other. So their relief, as you can see up on screen, I've got this as well detailed in the staff report, is a relief of about 1,300 square feet. So one of them is 1,312, the other is 1,285. So this chart here, this table, you can see at the top of your screen, kind of itemizes all of this out, how much is on each floor, along with the basement and the total. So you can see they're about 4,300 square feet, and with the overage of the numbers I just read of about 1,300 square feet. So each of these homes are 2 stories along with a basement. Basements these days are a typical market amenity for storage. So, as I mentioned before, that's part of the definition. So the basements here you can see in the table are 1,170 square feet. So that is the largely majority of the relief that's requested. So basements, again, they can be partially or wholly below finished grade. So we have a 50% threshold that triggers something to be a basement, but for gross floor area, it doesn't matter. So if you're still fully below, it's going to count for FAR. So staff believes that such conditions are likely only minimally, if at all, contributing to the visible bulk, thus likely would not significantly affect the built environment and neighborhood character. Notably, there are other land use controls we have in our zoning code that help keep a lid on how big a property could go. So we have height, minimum yard setbacks, and max lot coverage. Oh, and you can see on the diagram here, the dashed blue line would be the minimum setbacks. So the house does meet those setbacks, plus it's set in a little bit more than required on the sides. So as I mentioned, the majority of the relief is due to the basement. Notably, if the code were to be amended and not include basements in the gross floor area calculation, then the level of FAR relief would be reduced significantly. So you can see with house 1 and house 2, then the relief would only be 142 and 115 square feet each. So here's just some images that you would have saw in the staff report that show the houses. Staff notes other code requirements. We have facade elevation requirements for first floor masonry, as well as an anti-monotony to make sure that it's not completely the same, that we do see some differences. So staff worked with the petitioner and the architect to have some of the roof line and the configuration of a couple of the rooms on the second floor, as well as the orientation of the driveway. So lastly, here are a few of the last staff notes, which are noted in the report, just for the consideration of evaluating the appropriateness of the request. The building footprint is only 1,622 square feet, which appears to be less, based on that aerial analysis, of all but one of the existing 11 homes on the block. That average was about 2,100 square feet. Lots are slightly undersized, but the 60-foot lot width does meet code, and the depth of the lots are consistently aligned with the rest of the block. Also, if the lots would have remained Legacy NG zoning, that the max lot width would have only been 40 feet, and the maximum front yard only 15 feet, which would not be in character with the existing homes on the block. And lastly, the lot size appears compatible with the neighborhood and suitable for development, similar in character to the block's single-family detached R5 homes, while transitionally respecting the adjacent Legacy District. That concludes staff's presentation. I have Paul Spass, petitioner, here.
Okay. Does Paul, would he like to come up and speak? I'll swear you in.
Sure.
Just state your name.
Paul Spass?
Paul, do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
I mean, I don't have very much, many things to say. We bought the property a couple years ago, subdivided it. Like I said, it was in the legacy code originally, so it was a very large parcel. It's probably one of the last parcels of that size in the neighborhood. After talking with the village many times on what their plans were, and the legacy district is putting them townhouses up in the front, and then on Oak Park Avenue side, which is what we intend to do after we do these 2 residential houses in the back, and just trying to stay conforming with the neighborhood in the back. You know, it's a cul-de-sac, so, you know, in regards to the FAR, I mean, it's only in regards to the basement. You know, the houses pretty much meet what it is. I mean, so if, you know, the only difference would be, I mean, if you put a crawl space in there, it would still be the same thing. And so, I mean, I think the basement's kind of, the FAR shouldn't really pertain to the basement. But, yeah, I mean, I worked with the village on the lot sizes, you know, prior to the subdivisions, and get the recommendations on what they would like to see before I actually went through the complete subdivision. Other than that, like I said, as soon as we get these 2 houses up and sold, our plans is to conform with the rest of Oak Park Avenue and put a 4-unit townhouse project would be the next phase, so.
Well, thank you, Paul. I just stand there if people have any questions. I will start with Commissioner Manny. Any comments or questions?
No comments.
Okay, Commissioner Gatto.
No, I'm glad to see that it's gonna be developed, and the 2 homes, I think, is a great idea, and then putting the townhomes on Oak Park Avenue. I think it'll look great.
Commissioner Merrick.
Yeah, I'm in favor of more housing too. This is a good use of this land.
Okay. Commissioner Hamilton.
Yeah, looks good.
Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns. I appreciate you bringing this forward to us.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Sepisi.
It all works for me.
Commissioner Gaskell.
Sounds good. I like it.
I agree. I like it too. The one thing I have a question about, and this is not really for like your case per se, but like just going forward with the math, right? Like, you know, all of a sudden, it becomes a math problem in the definition of what's, you know, gross versus usable. And do we need to change this? Is my next question. So going forward, we're not, you know, kind of getting in the weeds of the math. And that, I guess, staff, anybody on staff would.
It's something we've talked about and are looking to consider possibly bringing a text amendment forward.
Okay.
So for that reason, that is why we called that out in the staff report.
Fair enough. I assumed, like, you guys are usually pretty good and on top of it, Laura, you're always very, you cross your Ts, dot your Is, so, yeah, I know sometimes we'll get something, and then we see it a couple more times, and then we've reacted, so, But, okay, fair enough. Well, thanks for pointing that out. And
Just a quick
Mr. Spass,
question.
you can.
Are these spec homes by any chance, or is this
Yeah,
like
they'll
you
be
have
spec homes. I mean, I've had people inquire, but, you know, I've built several homes in my life. I mean, if someone came to the table seriously about buying and putting money down to be able to pick their options, I have used that for consideration, but for the most part, you know, I've done a lot of home building, and I do a lot of good designing, and, you know, all my houses have sold within a week every time I put them up, so our finishes are high quality, the workmanship is high quality, it's guys that have been with me for 30 years, so, you know, I'm pretty confident in the construction of the home and the tradesmen that will be using to do a lot of the work, as well as myself, and I think it's, you know, they'll be nice homes. I mean, like I said, the lots are a little bit smaller, but based on, you know, my recommendations from the building department when I was going through the subdivision process, and we still needed to stay and, you know, have enough room for the multifamily project on the front. So, you know, I would like to go a little bit wider on them on lots, but we modified the footprint of the homes to stay within the setback. So, again, they're a little bit smaller, but, I mean, it's still a decent-sized home, 2,800 square feet, I think, so, not including the basement, right? And, you know, it's a decent-sized home for the neighborhood and the community, but, yes, they will be spec homes, so.
Nice, thank
Yeah.
you.
Can I ask a question? It doesn't really relate to this, but across the street, the lot, there was a house there,
Correct.
and you guys demoed that house. What's the deal with that lot? Do you own that lot too?
I put a request in to purchase it once they
I was
go
wondering.
through all the stuff to,
Okay.
I think the village is trying to, you know, secure the property, you know, with the county and such, but if that's the case, I did put a request in to, you know, make an offer on purchasing the land and building another house.
Is it from the bank, or what, do you know?
No, I think somebody else would have that answer. I'm not sure who, I think
Do you know?
the county.
We are in the court system to go ahead and not pay the property through back taxes.
Okay, I was
It was
wondering
us that,
why it was demoed, because it was a nice house, it was all brick.
Yeah,
It was
the inside of
destroyed.
it was pretty much a nightmare, so
Okay,
dilapidated beyond repair with mold and so forth. So we did get a court order to demolish the house, and we are in the process of trying to obtain it through the tax.
okay, got it.
But I did express my interest in purchasing that and building something very similar to the homes that we're putting in there, so when that does come available.
It's on the record.
Yeah, it's on the record, yeah. So,
Got it.
I mean, whatever that process is.
Thank you.
All right.
So I have a strategic plan question.
Sure.
So, not,
Oh,
this is
okay.
for staff, really, so we've been talking a lot about, over the last year, about finding ways to do infill, smaller homes, that sort of stuff, in order to increase the amount of housing stock we have in the community. And I just want to mention, like, this is one way to do it, to deal with these sorts of things. But I guess my question is, what broader systemic things are we doing in terms of zoning to make it possible to build more homes? Or multi-unit, you know, dwellings, or the range of those things?
Not quite sure how to answer
Okay.
that off the top of my head. We are still in the process of working on our comprehensive plan. And then following that, we might, you know, look into a more in-depth zoning code update, so that would be possibly part of that process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my daughters are closing on a piece of property, I think, next Wednesday in Tinley Park as well. And they're going to be, it's actually a double lot. And we'll be probably in for some very similar variations, similar to what we're doing here. But I think they're two separate lots, but I think this being sold as one parcel, so if it's not, we'll probably go through subdivision and build another home right here on 173rd Place, so.
Hopefully that for them get in touch.
Yeah, 100%. They close on Wednesday, and so hopefully we'll be building another one in Tinley as well.
Okay. Any other questions comments from commissioners? Anybody from the public wishing to speak on this? Okay, with that, if there's no further questions, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? So, motion made by Commissioner Gatto and seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The public hearing is closed. If you want to go through the standards of variation, staff, please do.
Okay. Thank you. So regarding the first standard about the property cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the regulations in its zoning district. The finding is the lot is slightly undersized to allow for development, but the lot frontage complies with code and the lot depth is consistently aligned with the rest of the block. The FAR and two-story bulk of the homes are consistent with the block. The existing homes are a mix of two-storied split level, and the proposed homes appear to be less than all but one of the existing building footprints on the block. The majority of the requested FAR relief is due to the basement. Both homes are equipped with basement. Number two, regarding unique circumstances, plight. The majority of the requested floor area is, again, due to the basement, and the lot depth is noted to be consistently aligned with the rest of the block. And thirdly, regarding not altering essential character of the locality, I'll just read the first sentence here. The FAR and lot size appear compatible with the neighborhood and suitable for development as they're similar in character to the block single-family detached R5 while transitionally respecting the adjacent legacy zoning district, and with the additional findings that are replicated above. And then the fourth standard, as we have, is up on screen, as was in the staff report.
Okay.
I have motion up on screen.
Okay, thank you, Lori. At this time, could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend that the village board grant variations to the petitioner, Paul Spass, from section VB Schedule 2 of the zoning ordinance to allow a reduced minimum lot size from 7,500 square feet to 6,049 square feet, and to allow a home on each lot with respective floor area ratios of 0.72 and 0.71, exceeding the maximum allowable floor area ratios of 0.5 on the properties located at 6812 180th Court and 6806 180th Court in the R5 Single-Family Residential Zoning District, consistent with the plan submitted, and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the May 21st, 2026 staff report.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Manny. Lori, could I get a roll call?
Commissioner Gaskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Manny?
Yes.
Commissioner Merrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez?
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi?
Yes.
Chairman Gray?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. So this will go to the village board on June 2nd, 2026. So Mr. Spass, just get with staff on the time and place. It should be here to attend. Okay? Good luck here. Okay, we'll move on to our fourth and final item of tonight, which is a public hearing to consider recommending that the village board grant Leonard McHenry of Gas and Wash a special use for a substantial deviation from the Brookside Creek Retail Center planned unit development to develop an automobile service station and with car wash in the B3 General Business and Commercial Zoning District at 7201 191st Street. Site plan and plat approvals will also be discussed at the meeting. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sepisi, seconded by Commissioner Martinez. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. The public hearing is open. I have received certification of the publication of the notice being published in the local newspaper, so anyone wishing to speak, the petitioner and others, will be sworn in after staff's presentation. So staff, please proceed.
Okay, so this is, the property is 7201 191st Street. It's the corner of 191st and Harlem. Lot 4, which is a piece of this project, is located within the Brookside Creek Retail Center PUD. At the time that the PUD was worked on and approved, the corner lot was not for sale. And so the petitioner was able to work out an agreement with the owner of that lot to purchase it. And so they are here today to consolidate those two pieces of land into one developable parcel and amend the PUD boundary to include the corner in Brookside Creek Retail Center as well. So the total area is 7.42 acres, and the PUD was approved at the end of 2025, and then, or, I'm sorry, I think that's, yeah, at the beginning of 2025, and then we amended it in the beginning of this year to move the allowance for a gas station in the PUD from Lot 1 in the PUD to Lot 4 where it is now. And then I will note that the subject property is located at least 1,000 feet away from residential properties in the neighboring Brookside Glen development. So there are three requests that comprise the proposal. So the first is a special use for a substantial deviation from the PUD. To facilitate the project, the petitioner needs to amend the PUD boundary to include the corner parcel, to approve the land uses, and to grant certain relief from the zoning ordinance and landscape ordinance. And I'll get into those specifics in a moment. The second request is for final plat approval of a plat of consolidation to merge Lot 4 and the parcel on the corner, and then site plan and architectural approval. So the first part of the special use request is to amend the boundary. This is very straightforward. They are just going to extend the boundary to include the corner lot. So everything on the screen will be within the Brookside Creek Retail Center, and it will all be zoned B3. The corner is currently B3 as well. So there's no rezoning needed. So in the PUD, a gas station is a permitted use on Lot 4 only. So the PUD envisioned a gas station with a car wash attached as part of the approval that the village board granted originally back in 2024, agreed to relocate it to this Lot 4 on the corner at the beginning of last year, and then at the beginning of this year, or I'm sorry, approved it originally beginning of last year, and then relocated it at the beginning of this year. So the proposed uses on the property, this is kind of like just a typical gas and wash location where there's a lot of different things happening. So the fueling station component, they're proposing to have 18 fuel stations. The convenience store building is a 10,049 square foot gross floor area building. Within that building, there will be 2 counter service food and beverage vendors, likely a coffee shop and a quick service restaurant. Each of those food and beverage vendors would have a drive-through lane, and then they are also proposing to allocate about 1,900 square feet of the convenience store building to a separate retail suite. So it'd be like an inline tenant user that has yet to be identified. And then the other part of this is a car wash building. So this is unique for gas and wash. It's a new concept that they are proposing. So they are proposing to do a large car wash building within that 17,731 square foot building. They would have the typical automatic tunnel that you see in any modern car wash. But then they are also proposing to have a detail center, which would have 21 indoor vacuum bays. And the petitioner is here to speak a little bit more about how they're proposing for that to work, but it's my understanding that some of those stalls would be used for detail service, kind of like what Delta Sonic does. And then some of them would also be just for motorists to vacuum out their cars themselves in inclement weather. They can be indoors while doing it. And then it will also include the typical outdoor vacuum bays. So the second request that they're making is for the final plat of consolidation. So up on screen, I have a snippet of kind of the meat of the plat. So they are proposing to consolidate into one lot, 7.42 acres. That far exceeds any minimum requirements we have for B3 lots within the village in the zoning ordinance. They have several easements indicated on here. The one on the right along Harlem is for a sidewalk, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. The one that kind of snakes through the site has to do with the alignment and orientation of the utilities moving through the site. And then on the west, that is a drainage easement. So here is the proposed site plan. I have a annotated version in a moment to show that kind of removes some of the noise from this. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on with all of the different dimensions, dimension lines mostly. But notable on here, so the site will have one direct access onto public roadways. That will be from 191st Street. That will be a right-in, right-out only. And then the second access point is off of the Brookside Creek Retail Center access road. That would be a full access to the access road. And then when that access road connects into Harlem, motorists can motorists traveling northbound on Harlem will be able to make a left turn into the development, and then motorists exiting from this driveway will have right-in, right-out access. So there would be no access from this drive northbound onto Harlem. And then here's a simplified version. So the orientation of the site, the convenience store building, which is the main building, is oriented toward the street. It's deeply set back, however, the entrance is reasonably direct to the street. They're proposing to have a pedestrian walkway connecting to the public sidewalk in the public right-of-way along 191st Street. And then along the Harlem right-of-way, because there are overhead utilities and drainage swales in the right-of-way, there isn't room to construct a sidewalk without some excessive engineering costs. So they're proposing to move the public sidewalk onto their private property, and that's what that sidewalk easement is for, so that the public has the right to access the sidewalk. The two red arrows indicate the drive-through queues. So on the south side of the building, that's proposed currently as a coffee shop. That drive-through queue has stacking space for 13 vehicles. The driveway queue on the east of the building has space for 11 vehicles, and that's currently proposed as a quick-service restaurant. The the car wash tunnel queuing, there's space for 18 vehicles to wait before the pay station. And then none of the drive-throughs would conceivably back up onto public roadways because they're so interior to the site. For parking, they have 90 parking stalls they're proposing. That includes 18 stalls that are the vehicle fueling bays. So we noted for the location on 183rd and LaGrange that it's very typical that those fueling bays get utilized as temporary parking. You gas up and run into the convenience store or vice versa. So those are kind of de facto used as parking. And since this is within a PUD, that doesn't need to be expressly granted as a variation. It can just be part of your approval of the special use. I think that's it for overall comments on the site plan, but I have some more exhibits. So this is kind of a zoomed out version. I am only working with PowerPoint, so forgive the graphic quality here, but it does give you an indication of what's going on. So you can see the roadway and the lanes on 191st and Harlem. The access drive is located immediately to the south of the subject site where they're tying in. There's a large and narrow pond on the west side of the proposed property, and then across from that is Flossmoor Ditch, which is a stream that is generally wet most of the time. And then as you continue to go west, you come back into a developable lot with Lot 3 and Lot 6. Lot 3 doesn't have any current proposal, and Lot 6, there's a conceptual approval or request for a grocery store at that location. And then zooming out further, you can see the overall picture. So I have highlighted the access drive connecting to the access drive that connects from Harlem to the westernmost lot on 191st Street. So the McDonald's that was approved on Lot 7 at the end of last year is the westernmost. There's a lot of detention, retention, floodplain mitigation, all of that. So all of these shaded areas are basically dedicated to water management. And I added a note on here that the gas and wash, the proposed gas and wash parcel is about 1,000 feet from the nearest residential parcel. So if you were to measure, from the proposed building to the nearest existing house, it would probably be around a quarter mile. And I just wanted to highlight that they did consider navigating the site. They provided a vehicle turning exhibit that shows how a tractor trailer, a tractor trailer and a fire truck would navigate throughout the site, and then also shows how motorists would access the drive-through lanes and fueling bays. So I know that we have a few small details to discuss with the turn radii and all of that, but I think it's generally relatively minor. So what you have before you is reasonably, what you would be approving. There won't be any major changes, but there may be some small tweaks. And then for the architecture, so this building is going to look maybe exactly identical to the one on 183rd and LaGrange. So it is almost entirely masonry. This is the convenience store building, sorry. So it's almost entirely masonry. There's a stone detail at the bottom. They have the articulated roof line. The branding color, the bright red, is kept to a minimum and is used just for architectural detailing. Yeah, this is what we're used to seeing. And then for the car wash building, this is a new concept, so it's a little bit different. They're proposing to use hardy board siding, which we as staff have been considering to be a approved material because it is hard wearing and has higher longevity, lower maintenance. So we kind of have been thinking of it differently than vinyl or wood siding, for example. So even though the visual appearance may be similar, it is a much harder wearing material, and so we're generally thinking it's in line with our requirements. They do meet the facade composition requirements when you subtract out all of the glazing. So, yeah. And then this building is compatible with the convenience store building. It shares the same materials, with the exception of the hardy board siding, and same color scheme and all that. So this first slide, the top image is the view from 191st Street looking west at the building, and then the bottom image is the view from the access drive looking northward. So it's the south elevation. And then I have the west, which would face the pond and Flossmoor Ditch, and then the north, which would face the back of the convenience store building. Okay. So for landscaping, the site is very heavily landscaped. However, it is still deficient with the village's landscape ordinance requirements. So I'll point out that the intent of the village's landscape ordinance is to provide shade and native plantings, add visual interest, and soften visual impact of development. And so this, I think, can reasonably considered that it does so. So the village landscape ordinance specifically requires a type C buffer yard along each property line. They were only able to achieve the requirements of the type C buffer yard on the west. So on the north and east, it is a little bit constrained due to the location of easements, overhead utilities, and drainage swales. So they have met the width of the buffer yard requirement, but they are deficient in the number of plantings. So, for example, the north and east buffer, or the north buffer yard requires 22 canopy trees. They're proposing 9, and the east buffer yard requires 18, and they're proposing 6. And so, additionally, the petitioner's landscape architect indicated that if they were to meet the planting requirements but not the planting spacing requirements in the type C buffer yard, they would be overcrowding all of the plant material. It would have to be so clustered that there would be concerns about the likelihood that the plants would survive to maturity. And then finally on buffers, I'll note that the south buffer is also deficient. However, this specific area was considered with the PUD, and so the PUD had a landscape plan that indicated a certain planting design and quantity for the south side of this lot, and so they have met what was approved in that landscape plan. Building perimeter landscaping is required on facades that front public roadways. So on the north side, they weren't able to achieve this because it's the parking and walkway to get to the convenience store, and then you also have the canopy that would block any light coming down. And then they also were not able to meet it on the east side because the east side is a drive-through queue. And then they did meet the building perimeter landscaping requirements on the car wash building because of just how the site laid itself out. So they have hefty planting beds on the public-facing sides of the buildings. We have a interior lot landscaping requirement that's based on square footage of the lot. So that calculation requires 33 interior landscaping trees, and they're proposing 33, so they've met that. And then they also would be required with the interior lot landscaping regulations, they'd be required to have over 18,000 square feet of planting beds, and they're proposing 23,000. And then finally, the landscape ordinance requires that vehicle areas be screened from the public view with consistent hedge wall, evergreen hedge wall to be 3 feet in height at maturity. Most projects in Tinley don't do that. I think that part of it is the concern with snow removal and salt infiltration into soil from winter ice management. And so the petitioner also stated that that was their justification for instead going with clustered beds rather than a continuous hedge line. And then finally, the two ground signs both have the landscape beds as required. For signage, because there's so much going on, signage, you know, our zoning ordinance isn't really built to handle a use of this nature. So they're proposing 27 signs, and there are 6 requests in the signage plan for relief from the zoning ordinance. So they're requesting that the number of allowed wall signs be increased from 5 to 8, which is a 60% increase. However, the wall sign numbers are to accommodate all of the different users in the convenience store building. So that isn't out of line with what we've seen for other gas and wash developments that have the multiple users within the gas station building, the convenience store building. They're asking to increase the allowable height of the gas station monument sign from 10 feet to 11 feet 2 inches. This is a 12% increase, and this is what was done on 183rd and LaGrange as well. They are seeking to increase the maximum allowable size of an electronic message center on a car wash ground sign. So the car wash ground sign is that bullet labeled V at the bottom right. So they would have a sign at the entrance to the development. They're proposing to increase that sign area from the 20% maximum to a 30%, which is a 50% increase above what the code requires. They're proposing to increase the maximum wall sign area on the convenience store. This is, again, to accommodate the multiple users within the building. They're asking to increase the maximum fuel sign canopy area on the east and west sides of the canopy from 16 square feet to 28 square feet, which is a 75% increase above code. This again is in line with the request for a variance that was granted on the 183rd and LaGrange location. And then finally, they're requesting to add canopy signs on the car wash payment area canopy as well as the vacuum area canopy. The zoning ordinance only specifically allows canopy signs on fueling canopies, so these aren't that. So currently none's allowed, and they're proposing a total of 84.6 square feet. As I noted, all of these requests is consistent with the variations that were approved by the village board for the 183rd and LaGrange location. So this is in line with other locations in the village. And then I will add that all signs not specifically listed will otherwise completely comply with signage regulations in the zoning ordinance. So these are the only 6 requests that we got for signage. These are the only 6 that would be granted. Anything else would need to align with the zoning ordinance. And here's just an example of, I guess, the car wash signage. So you can see that they've got car wash called out separately from detail center. That's kind of in line with having 2 separate uses, even though they're one business operating the use. Okay, and that, I guess I'll just quickly note too that the lighting plan that was submitted, the photometric plan, meets all village requirements. The fixtures are downlit, and the foot candle spillover is within our regulations. And then I will add that the orientation of the site really does a lot to address lighting impacts to residents. So the most impactful would probably be the canopy, the gas station canopy being lit up all night. Because of how the site is laid out, you'll have the convenience store building blocking all of that spillover to the south. And then there'll be kind of heavy landscaping on the west. So the impacts are mitigated, and regardless, they are in line with our standards anyway. Yeah, got the standards.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. At this time, does anybody with the applicant's team wish to speak? If so, I will swear you in. Just state your name and then repeat after me.
My name is Christian Kolashevsky from WT Group AAC.
Okay, Christian, do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
Thank you. We do thank you for the ability to make this presentation this evening. Of course, we were previously approved on Lot 1, as was mentioned before, and moving to Lot 4 when that became available. Quite frankly, we would never have been doing this had Lot 4 been available at the very beginning. Lot 4 is obviously a much more preferred site. It was taken by AutoZone prior to Gas and Wash being able to secure that property. And since then, they have pulled out and made that available to us. So that's why we're in front of you. Not that we're second guessing anything, it was just what became available. If you could proceed to the next slide here. Again, the aerial was talked about. The next slide, please. Again, that's our site plan. Go to the next one. It should be the colored site plan. So in that site plan, you can see the variety of landscaping. We are using coniferous as well as deciduous. Any of the variances that we're asking for, like along the northern edge of the C-store, is directly where our customers are walking and have found historically difficult to make any landscaping viable there. And then on the east side of the C-store is literally the drive-through lane, which cars are driving there, so it couldn't be done. However, the quantities that were required in those areas are not being asked to be removed from the site. We've taken those quantities and we've placed them elsewhere on the site. That's why we're 5,000 square feet over the required landscape bed area. And so we just want to make that clear. All our interior landscaping meets your ordinances, and we're asking for variances on the outside because of the physical requirements in terms of the overhead utilities, the underground utilities, and very specifically the drainage swale along Harlem really affects what we're trying to do. Overall, you can see that we are heavily landscaping. We do have a variety of the coniferous and the deciduous landscaping. So just in general, the going from top to bottom is the auto canopy. It's an inline canopy. It's got the 9 islands, so you fuel on both sides. That's where the 18 fueling positions are occurring. One of the things that is missing from this site that you see in the two closest gas and washes that are close to us is there is no commercial fueling lanes on this site. Very different strategy for the customer base that we're trying to do. We do want to capture eastbound morning traffic on this site, but we're also offering a new element that was mentioned in the staff presentation of the indoor vacuuming area. This is becoming a trend in this industry, where especially in our climate, you want to provide a protective environment where people can, after they're washed their car, come in a protected area, do some more drying or detailing. We have on there air guns, we have windshield wiper cleaner, we have a fragrance area, we have general maintenance. So anything that wants to be detailed and touched up. Inside that building is basically, the car wash itself is what you're used to in terms of the wash bay. It is an express style wash. The customers drive through in their cars, or they don't drive through, they're brought up to the conveyor. The conveyor then brings them through the car wash. So they stay in their car wash. So in terms of the direction, people are stacking facing west. They go through the 3 points, then they come south and come into the car wash, and they're headed east through the car wash. Then on the exit side of the car wash, and this is the car wash as well, we have a drying chamber with a heating chamber that makes the cars as dry as possible coming out. They have a choice. They can go left to the outdoor vacuums, or if some people who like to vacuum before, they could just leave the site. Or they can go right and go into the indoor vacuuming area. That is going to be available for certain membership packages and certain types of wash purchases. That also will be automated. There will be an automated gate at the door, just showing the ticket or the license plate reader. If in a membership class, the door will open. Inside there are extra wide bays. There's the 11 bays on the right, 11 bays on the left, with all the vacuuming and all the detailing equipment there, mat cleaners, etc. Again, it'll be in a controlled environment. In the winter, we're looking for about 60 degrees. Not so, I mean, you're still in your jacket and stuff like that, but it's a much more comfortable environment in the winter to detail your car. Then, as you're finished detailing, you would proceed heading west out of the building, and then you have the common drive that can bring them north to 191st if they wish to go that way. However, most of our customers will make the left, go on to the common drive, and then head towards Harlem, depending on which direction they go to. One of the items that we're asking for, first of all, we just want to make, one of the items that we're asking for is we're looking for a plat of consolidation. When we consolidate this parcel, we were basically adding 1.88 acres to our 5.54 acres. When we do that, we have an FAR ratio allowed of 1. We're only 0.085. We're less than a tenth the density allowed by your ordinance. So we just want to say, yes, we have 6 different businesses per se on here. We have 2 QSRs, then we have a retail offering, then the C-store, then the fueling, and then the car wash. Basically 6 different offerings. That's what's required in a retail fueling environment today. You have to provide additional services for people to come to your site. And so even with that, our FAR ratio is 0.085 of an allowable 1. And so again, less than a tenth the allowable density. All the building setbacks far exceed what's required by a tune of almost 5 to 6 times the required setbacks. And then also the landscape setbacks are all met by a tune of at least twice, in some cases 10 times. So with that, what we're trying to say, as you can see how much green is on the site for a commercial development, we have a landscape surface ratio of 0.52. In commercial retail environments, that's typically around 25 to 30% at the most, and we're over 50%, so we're at 52%. I'm going to stay pretty much on this, and then we'll go to the rest of the slides, but I do want to talk a little bit about the signage as well. We are asking for 6 variances. However, we know that when we're asking for an exception, I guess is the proper term in the PUD here, we need to give something as well. And so I just want to stress that both in the freestanding ID sign area, we're allowed 360 square feet. We are only asking 177 square feet. For all the wall signs, we are allowed 1,143.1 square feet. We are only asking for 765 square feet. We're leaving approximately 400 square feet of signage on the table, because what we're asking you is to allow us to have more signs, but smaller signs that indicate the various businesses and give the right direction for the clients, such as the canopy signage on the pay points for the car wash. Technically isn't addressed in your code. It's an interpretation of whether it's allowed or not. It's just not addressed in the code. And we are putting that to tell our people, this is the members lane, this is a credit lane, this is a cash credit lane. So it's informational type of signage that's allowed in that case. The same thing at the vacuum canopies, free vacuums and some signage that tells what the products are there. So, and one of the exceptions was to increase the allowable size of the electronic message center on the car wash sign. It's, the code says you can have 20%. We are asking for 30%. However, that's a little deceiving, because the car wash sign allowed is 120 square feet. We can make our car wash sign 120 square feet and be to code. And we are only proposing a 67 square feet sign. And so our percentage, if we make our sign as big as we can, the 120, we wouldn't be asking for this variance from 20 to 30%. And one part of that is the LED is just the function of the size of the LED, and the readability is what the purpose of that. But again, we could make our car wash ID sign up to 120 square feet. We don't want to do that. But that way we could get away from that variance. What I'm trying to state is that even though we're asking for 6 variances, we're giving as well. In terms of this, we're not going to 120 square feet for the C-store ID sign either. That one is only 107 square feet. So in every category, for the most part, we're either at or below the allowable square footage. And then again, just in general, the ID sign is 360 square feet allowed. We're only asking 177. The wall signs, 1,143.1 square feet allowed, and we are only asking for 765 square feet. And so that's, we just want to put that in the perspective, because if you just look at the variances, it makes it seem like we're asking for the moon, where really we are allowing over 400 square feet, leaving it on the table, because we feel we need to identify the businesses to our customers. With that, we also have Mr. Mike Hackett in terms of answering any questions from a business side, and then Mr. Brian Hertz from any civil engineering side. We'll quickly go through the rest of the slides just to show you some comments, but that was the gist of our presentation. All masonry bearing buildings, both of them, 100% masonry bearing, high quality materials, long lasting for the environment. Next, this is kind of a perspective of the car wash pavilion. This is a view on the right side of this perspective is the traditional car wash where you're going through. On the left side would be the detailing center. And I think, and then this is the other view of that again from kind of the west side looking southeast. And again, and then that is the very corner, that is the south east corner of the building. So again, it's made to have a lot of natural light in there and all masonry. The artisan panel that we're using above is only being used above the windows, and what we're trying to do is for a contemporary look. The artisan has an awesome, very nice groove that gives a very delineated line, gives more of a modern feel to it, a little clean look to it, which is what we want to reflect in this car wash detailing, since people are trying to detail and spruce up their second most costly investment in their lives. So we feel that the building wants to dress up a little bit at that point as well. Next slide, I think that might yet another view, and then we have the site plan. So we are here to answer any questions. And we thank you for your time. I spoke way too long, sorry.
Thank you, Christian. I'm going to ask a couple things first. So I just want to make sure I heard that right when you spoke off the bat. This one's different in that, and even when I read but this was like staff's wording, that to develop an automobile service station. So those pumps are really just for your garden variety vehicles, right? There shouldn't be a tractor trailer type truck coming in. It doesn't look like it would fit that. It would cause some issues, right?
Right.
So
I mean,
is that what you were saying, just a typical commercial clientele?
Correct. Yeah, we're not at all offering a commercial fueling lane canopy, which is what you see in other
Right.
properties within the village and throughout the area, yeah.
Okay, and then I want to make sure with staff too, so like the FAR, we had it in the last one, and this is a little different, so it's the gross floor area of the buildings, right? Divided by the area of the lot, right? So that area of the lot, which includes the detention pond, which is there to, so it's effectively unusable, but that's in your denominator, right?
Right.
So that's why it's almost a little bit of a math, a trick of math in that because there's nothing buildable on that, you got a big denominator, so it reduces that number. So it is, in fact, it actually makes it more dense in that area, is my estimation on that. But I just wanted to say that because I'm an engineer, so I'm a math guy. But with that, I will go to our staff, and if Mike or that has to come up, I'll swear them in to talk. So we'll start on the end with Commissioner Hamilton.
No question, a lot of the issues that are being addressed here were also addressed earlier at your first location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've kind of seen it for a second time.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Merrick.
I have two questions. One of them, I didn't drive by 191st today. So the right in, right out on 191st Street, is it physically possible for people to take left turns there right now?
As a raised concrete median.
Okay, how much?
Unlike 183rd, where everyone is going the wrong way out of that.
Yeah, on both of them on 183rd.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
They wouldn't,
So this one, you would you'd wreck your vehicle. Okay, that's helpful. And then I guess I have a question. Are you planning to close the gas station that's maybe a quarter mile up on Harlem from here that you own? Or are these franchised out?
No, none of these gas and washes are franchised. They're all.
Okay, are you
owned.
planning to close the one that's super close to this?
No, not at all. There's no need in terms of the traffic counts that we've done per KOLA, professional traffic engineers. The the existing traffic flow and the patterns, more importantly, are there to support all
Okay.
three locations.
All right, I'll just say for the record, this is kind of a behemoth. It's
I
like
agree.
it's like a overdeveloped space for Tinley, I think, so.
I'd have to agree with Commissioner Merrick. I'm not a fan of it. There's a, you know, I don't even know how many years ago it was, we annexed in the one that was south of this to the village. The gas and wash that was on Harlem
Bring
there.
it in.
Yeah, we brought it in. And now we want to build this monstrosity on the corner. I wanted to see something different in this area than a gas station. I'm gonna be honest. So, I mean, I'm not a fan about any of it. I don't care what, this whole thing is just, it's too much for me in that area. I'd like to see commercial completely in that area. There's plenty of gas stations 3 blocks down Harlem. That's my opinion.
Commissioner Manning.
Well, I concur with my commissioners here as well, that it's too much, and you already have a gas station, you know, like 2 minutes away. You know, so you have, you know, during rush hour right now, it's already, you know, back up, you know, up to the bridge, you know, going south, and I couldn't imagine how the traffic would be, you know, if this development went through. So I oppose it.
Okay, Commissioner Manning. Commissioner Gaskell.
I agree with the other commissioners. I think it's just too much in that area. You know, you've got, how many gas and washes in Tinley Park? You know, I mean, how many more can you put in there? You know, that's my feeling.
Okay, Commissioner Sepisi.
Nothing at all.
Commissioner Martinez.
I concur with my other commissioners. I have concerns about how much is being put on the site. Curious as to the market data for the inline retail, given that there's, you know, planned retail in this area. I don't think I would necessarily go to the gas station for that retail. I think, you know, I've frequented the other gas and wash on Harlem. Even that one drive-through is kind of a headache to get in and out with, you know, people walking, people trying to get out on the site, or get out of the site. And then I think the interior vacuums can be, you know, decreased as well. I don't think, you know, 2 rows, I'd be concerned about trying to get out of there, you know, backing up and then somebody else backing up. I think that's a lot of congestion in that interior vacuum space, but I do just generally, you know, I support your investment in the community, so I don't want to necessarily say, you know, no convenience store, no gas station, no car wash, but I do want to see a little less so that you can meet our code. A lot of this looks a little self-imposed of a hardship.
Do I have a chance to respond to all these comments, or?
Sure, Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, one of these is one, we just want to, we are not asking for any variance for the land use itself. This is zone B3, this is allowable uses. This has already been approved in Lot 1 it was previously approved. So it's just moving, it's the exact same use that was approved in Lot 1 that's being labeled and moved to Lot 4 with the addition of the indoor vacuum. In the indoor vacuuming, the lanes are extra wide, 12-foot parking stalls, and the depth is wider than a 2-lane expressway. So the maneuvering of inside the interior of that building is very comfortable. And we know throughout the site that you have to maneuver and make it comfortable and convenient. The 2 main ingredients for the success of a retail fueling facility is the convenience and the safety. And we strive on that, and Brian runs many truck turns, car turns. We look at the traffic flow. And so everything is very much in line in terms of the safety and the convenience goal of developing this. Again, we need to stress the FAR ratio is 1. We're a .085. That is 1/10 the allowable density. There is no way, by definition, you can say this is too much. It is way below the
Christian,
allowable density.
Was I misspoken? Did I misspeak? Like, that denominator does include the whole, it's the whole site, right?
Well, that's what your code says,
Right.
yes. It-
Yeah,
it
I
measures the
understand.
whole
We just
site.
had one with the code where we said, hey, it's not really,
But-
mapping out or mimicking what is reality. So I'm, the first thing I led off with was, that's creative math. I do concur that it's very busy. Now, and to Commissioner Martinez's point, some of it is self-imposed. When I read building perimeter or landscaping is required on the north and east sides of the convenience store building. And then it says, but it can't be because there's a drive-through, and but it's required. So to Commissioner Martinez's point, she is correct. Like, it is self-imposed in that respect. And, I understand the request for the more signage because you do have so much there. And I've gone to the establishment off of LaGrange and a few times, but one time, one of the first times it was at night, and I did need those arrows to make sure I'm going in the right direction, right? And that was, it wasn't as busy at 10:30 PM as it probably is at other parts of the night. But, and then whether a use was approved for the first one, it wasn't a 7-acre site, right? It was a different site? I mean, what size, the lot? What was the,
It was smaller, yes.
yeah, it was smaller, and then there's also then the functionality of, you have, even though it's not on your site, you have the access road to connect to Harlem, and then you have, the entrance at the top. So some of those, the inner geometry of the site and the fact that the site itself, it changes, right? That's why you're here, to see does it meet code, the specific details of that, right? Like, so in terms of the use, if it's pre-approved, we wouldn't be having this discussion to kind of hash stuff out. But like, I just, we've heard some concerns here, and it is a very busy site. I do like the indoor car wash, because I think there you have something unique where in the wintertime, when everybody's got the grime on the cars, you can go indoors and dry it, wash it and dry it. I think that's actually a boon. Like, I think that is a good feather in the cap of this, to be quite honest. But it is very dense, and one of my concerns was, and thankfully it doesn't sound like, but who knows who's gonna try to pull in and gas up, but if you had a big truck or something, my concern was like some of that traffic coming out onto that access road to Harlem. I know that's not directly your concern in terms of that, but like from a functionality standpoint, you wouldn't want to have any sort of backup like they do near the LaGrange site, going west towards the LaGrange Road. But go ahead, Kristen. I just wanted to bring that up about the denominator. That's.
Yeah, this is a typical gas station in terms of every gas station requests a variance for foundation landscaping because of the function. Landscape ordinances, zoning ordinances are all written for the general good. But then when you get a specific case of certain business type, there's certain situations that need to have an exception to that. And this is, people are would trample landscaping walking from the doors, from their parking to the front door. And again, we're not avoiding it in terms of not putting it on the site. We've relocated it on the site. So again, we have 5,000 square feet of additional planting beds over what's required. And the only place that we're short on landscaping is because of the drainage swale and the utilities and the overhead lines as well. So the site is going to be beautiful. It will be impeccably maintained as all the gas and washes are. And the services are similar, and it's a reflection of the market. Your retail here is the highest per square foot of any use in the retail environment. A retail fueling facility per square foot generates the highest sales tax revenue, which reflects the highest amount of sales per square foot. So if you want retail, this is the best use, not the least use. And how many strip malls are there out there that are empty because of the change in time? Amazon has really done a change into customer behavior. And you're seeing strip centers not make it. And that's the situation. How many malls have been taken down and turned into townhomes now? However, this model, retail fueling, which in the future the fueling will be changing. I mean, we've already planned for electric, and I've done many projects with hydrogen and CNG, and we know the fuel in the future will be changing, but customer habits looking for the services that are provided on this property in addition to the fueling is what will always continue. And so we feel, by the math, your code says that a building that could be built could be, I'm just looking for the right square footage so I say this for the record correctly. The building could be 324,390 square feet. If the zoning allowed for it, you could have a massive warehouse on this property. I don't think anyone in this room wants that, right? And I think you have a full masonry-bearing building with wonderful landscaping, very carefully thought traffic patterns, because it isn't anyone on the staff's license, it's my license, it's my house on the line if there's any safety issues. And so we take that super, super seriously. So we hope you reconsider. We show by the math that we're way below the allowable density. We show by the math in terms of the landscaping, we're 5,000 square feet more than what is required. And we show by the math that we're proposing 400 square feet of signage less than what's allowed. So I think we're really trying to be a good neighbor in all aspects of this, and hope that you reconsider.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Mike or Brian, do you have any comments?
No, I think that,
I'll swear you in.
I think that obviously, Mike Atkins, I think
Here,
that,
yeah, I'll swear you in. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay, please proceed.
Obviously, we hear your concerns tonight, and we understand that. I think that one of the points that Chris makes is valid, that, you know, it's not out of the ordinance of it, and I understand where you guys are at with words in terms of it looks busy. We did, for that reason, try to acquire that extra lot at the corner that we actually acquired last year at the end of the year to increase the size of the site and to make it look like it. I don't think, you know, the landscaping is extensive. It's within what you guys have requested for. We've adjusted it and made it within it. And I don't, you know, I don't necessarily think that it'd be too busy. I really don't. I think that you've seen the other stores and the volumes and the productions and the way they're maintained. So, I mean, I understand where you guys are at. Respect your decisions, and I hope you guys would consider it. So.
I have a question. I know, Christian, you mentioned that you could be within code and make a readable LED sign, right? But you said you guys chose not to, but it would require a variance. Normally, if there was an option that doesn't require a variance, the staff would push that as what you should do, right? Typically, we'll get, there's A, B, and C on somebody's property line, that do that before you ask for a variance. So what, you mentioned this earlier, maybe I heard that.
Our allowable square footage for our ID sign is 120 square feet.
Okay.
We're not making a 120 square foot sign. We're just doing, the majority of it is 67 square feet in terms of the signage. And then we have the portion of, that's electronic, is 21 square feet. So that's where the 30% is coming into play. We can easily make this 67 square foot sign 120 square feet. No one wants that. That's a huge sign. So we actually are being, that's part of the 400 square feet that we're leaving. No, actually, I'm sorry, that's not part of the 400. That was just for the wall sign. That's part of, we're allowed 360 square feet. We only have 177. So we are leaving just under 200 square feet, 190 square feet on the table for our ID.
I want to ask staff, is that how you guys see it? Is that how you guys interpret that?
So,
They're
yeah.
leaving stuff on the table.
Specifically with the EMC size, it is a ratio that is tied to the overall sign face. So by having a smaller sign, you will have a smaller EMC. I think the point that Chris is making is the EMC, the ratio is higher, and they could do the size that they have of the EMC if they made the sign twice as big, but that's not necessarily what we're going for.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree. Part of that then becomes like this playing with math, and I mean, maybe this should be looked at with the code. We just did it, we were playing with that one number, and now we're playing with it again. And I don't like the way it's being played with, like, I think, you have unusable land when you have to have like a detention pond. That whole site has a lot of detention ponds, because, it has a lot of drainage issues and stuff. So like, there's a lot of unusable land there, but that's just what you need when you develop the rest there. I understand that. So counting that as your denominator
Just to
gives
be
you a little
clear,
bit of a
though,
false.
In true all respect, that above-ground detention area could have gone underground, and we could have paved it. So, we're not wanting to do that. That's why our landscape ratio is 52% of what typically for a commercial is 20 to 30%. So we're almost double of what typical commercial is. And again, our floor area ratio is a fraction of what's allowed. So that underground, that detention could have gone underground, and we could have done something different and still have been in the code. So is it a game of math? Yes, it's a game of math, but everyone's playing the same game. We've got the requirement, it's one. We're allowed to build over 300 square foot, 300,000 square foot building on this lot if it was zoned properly.
Yeah, except that you're not building a warehouse, right? You're building a gas station, and you wouldn't want a 300,000 square foot gas station. So that sort of comparison doesn't make any sense. Just like when we talk to people about when they need a variance, we don't talk about all the other things that they have in their house that they're building that meet code or are under code, right? So, I mean, the discussion about how you're giving the village something in exchange for something else, as opposed to asking for a variance because it makes sense for the business and the community, is really, that doesn't make any sense to me. We're talking about what you're giving us. And so in exchange for you giving us that, will we give you something, right? But we're just looking out for what will look good and make sense for the community, right? Not what, how much sign variance you're giving back or something. That doesn't even make sense to me.
And I know I heard what Commissioner Merrick and Commissioner Gatto stated, and some others as well, with the other location just down the road, right? And then if you want to look at it even further, there's another location on 191st if you go a little bit, but that's a little bit, you know, farther away,
It's in Mokina.
admittedly. And so, you know, and it's not a franchisee, it's, you guys are running more, which, more power to you in terms of, you guys are a successful business.
They're all set up as separate LLCs, right?
I don't know that,
Yeah,
but
I-
either way,
Based
Well,
on,
it's all owned by the same person.
right, but each one's a separate LLC?
For the most part, it depends on where they're at.
Okay.
Again, we're not here for the use is the lot. All
I
that
didn't say
reuse
anything
is
about,
B3.
about being against there being a gas station here, right?
There's been statements by others.
I heard.
that- And again, the use is not in question here. In fact, you have set precedence by the community has allowed Lot 1 to be the gas station. Then when the developer came in, it was unanimously passed that Lot 4 is to hold the gas station. So the issue is not whether a gas station is on.
okay, I'll rein it back in, so let's do a straw poll. Who is for the sign variances? Okay, so
But, Gary, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it makes sense to me to have a smaller sign is actually what you're after, right? A smaller visual impact. And if that's what they want from the variance, I'd be okay with that.
okay, well, I mean, I was just putting out there, nobody's raised their hands. so that's
But
why-
I'm a little bit slow. But I also have another comment about like the denominator. Isn't the point of the FAR to kind of decrease the density, right? Again, it's a visual impact thing. And the fact that their property does include a detention area that they can't build on, it still reduces the visual impact, the fact that you're including that in your calculations.
But what it is, it'd be like counting, like, you're forcing everything else on one area, right? So like, realistically, I could ask, what's the square footage of that right off the parking spot, the parking lot there, where they show the detention pond? What is that? Take that out, and then let's recalculate the number. We did the opposite in the item before. So, I mean, like, you know, becomes mathematical playing with numbers.
I think that what the discussion you're having really highlights the problems with using floor area ratio as a measure of
Yeah.
intensity. You know, it kind of makes sense when it's like, you know, a old area where like every lot is the same size, because then you're kind of talking about the same thing. But when you have situations like
Right.
this, it isn't really a logical way to regulate
Right.
intensity.
Also, not doing the math, but even if we did a net FAR and took out the stormwater area, they would likely still comply considerably.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's what, I just wanted to know what the number was, if that was. So
I mean,
if it's one or less, then good. The other thing is, yeah, like, we just had one where we said, this thing's wonky. And that's why I wouldn't be hanging my hat, that it's, you know, like, you know, so, but if you do look at it where you take it out, and then say, we're still within it with that, you know, then I'd say, okay, but that's, you know, 0.15, so, is it? I'll
Well,
trust your
again,
math on that.
As is, you know, again, they could get 10 times bigger and still be within the FAR, and so just kind of eyeballing the site,
Okay,
it should.
yeah, I
still
mean,
work.
if
I
it's
don't have the
1.01,
exact measurement
yeah,
of
I'm
that
not,
stormwater detention area, though.
either way. Yeah, it's just, we already said it wasn't a good baseline in the last item, so that's why I you know, it's not a good baseline for this one as well.
I have a couple questions. I guess for the retail use, can you expand on kind of why you're looking at having that in line with, you know, all these other uses? Just because I think that's leading to the sign variation, that's leading to the tightness of the landscaping on the or along Harlem. I just want to hear kind of more about the retail. And even, is this meeting parking requirements? Are they supposed to cross the drive-through there to get to the parking space?
We exceed again, wherever there's a minimum required, we exceed the minimum. So
So
we're
you're
required
expecting
to have,
you're expecting the patrons to, you know, cross the drive-through lane to get to parking spaces? Is that kind of the thought of putting
the
parking
main
spaces there?
parking for, if you could, that's good. No, you can see that all the parking is directly adjacent to the building. So you have the parking on the north side, all the parking and the parking pod is on the west side. So that's directly for all the customers. And then we have supplementary parking for additional customers and also for employees. And so the primary parking is that row in front of the building and on the pod that's on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I agree with the adjacent to the building parking. I guess just curious who's going to be parking in that furthest portion that does have to cross the drive-through lane. Is that just employees maybe?
There is we designate employee parking, yes. And we've done that on other sites.
And then is that a loading berth next to that detention pond area that also has to cross the drive-through lane?
That is a loading spot. Quite frankly, they'll probably be parked up. You see those two ovals in front of the auto canopy? That's where the tanks are. And the trucks will be parking there to bring in product. And that is always on off hours.
Is that loading berth there required by code? Yes.
All that is required is a striped space of a certain dimension. There's no locational requirement, there's no accessibility, there's no like level grade, it's just there shall be a loading zone and that's it. So I think that putting it there was like, well, it's a code requirement and this meets it. You know, is it where most delivery activities are going to happen? Maybe not, but that's not what the code specifically states.
Yeah, it looks like maybe, you know, people will use that loading berth to bring products behind the convenience store, which still then encourages crossing that drive-through area. So I have some questions and concerns, I guess, about, you know, the pedestrians as well, not only the vehicles. So.
And KOLA has looked at that from a safety standpoint. I've looked at it from a safety standpoint. And again, all the deliveries are off hours.
I concur with Commissioner Martinez. I mean, like, it's you got it on the west side, but even on the other drive-through on the northeast side. I mean, it's a lot of crossing over. But I get it. It's just because there's like 2 stores inside the convenience store, so.
And if you feel we have too much parking, we'll take 30 spaces out. That's, I mean, we're 30 over, so we're trying to meet your code and exceed your code.
Who's the typical end user of that retail? Sorry if I had cut off the combo on that.
There's a variety of different uses, and discussions are being made right now. So we don't have one designated yet.
Like maybe a restaurant, or is it like a destination? I guess
Yeah,
just typically in your typical.
It'd probably be consistent with somewhere along 183rd and LaGrange. I mean, those type of users.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
One last comment, Gary?
Yeah.
I do think it's probably a little bit unfair for us to bring up, it's too busy now because we already looked at this one time in the same general area and approved it. I think there's a little bit of unfairness in that.
And if I need to get more specific into each of the signage requests, I can, because the height, all the signage requests are exactly the same as other sites. And it's all a function of the businesses and wanting to identify them. Again, I don't know how to stress it more than what I can say is that we can meet your code perfectly. We can have 400 more square feet of signage. We'll get the same amount of numbers and all that. Our ID signs will grow by 180 square feet. Is that really what you want? I don't think so. And so we are just trying to put the signage where it's appropriate, identify the auto fueling, identify the 2 QSRs in the convenience store, identify the convenience store, and identify the retail user. And so that necessitates a number of signs. But again, we're 400 square feet less than what's allowed by code. And so I think it is a peace offering. It is a positive thing that we're doing less signage than what's allowed by code. And we feel that it's more harmonious to the design of the site. And the height of the ID sign from 10 to 11.2 is a function of the United States Sign Council in terms of the requirements for the size of the numbers, for the fuel, by the distance that you see. It's called visual reaction time. It's a mathematical, not an emotional equation, that the complexity of the road, the speed of the road mandates those letters to be a certain size height. When you add those up, you get 1 foot 2 more. And we're not just trying to do a taller sign. We're making it safe per the United States Sign Council. That's why the car wash sign is at 10 feet, because it doesn't have those requirements. But the gas, we do, by the state of Illinois, have to show the products. And as in terms of the United States Sign Council, mandates the certain size heights based on the roadway that's there. So again, all these variations are function of the business. And that's what this whole process is about, right? Realizing that different businesses have different needs. And again, we don't want to add 400 square feet of wall signage. We don't want to add 180 square feet of ID monument signage. What we're proposing, we feel is appropriate.
I have a question. When staff showed that utility on that snaking utility, I noticed that it goes through one of the pumps. So if you could go back one more, or go forward one more, Michael. So I was just curious, how's that compatible there?
Brian?
Yes, go ahead. Oh, I thought I was calling you.
Swear, Mayor, Chairman.
Hmm?
Swear.
Oh, yeah, I'll swear, yeah, sorry. Do you swear or affirm to tell the evidence you're about to give is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, state your name and proceed.
Brian Hertz from MG2A.
Okay.
So that easement that you see there it's kind of a leftover from the subdivision plans, the underlying subdivision plans. The developer was proposing a water main extension through the site, and it starts up there at that north end and kind of just came through, and then it turned and went east, paralleling the south portion of the 1.8 acres that got added in, and then it turned and went south just to the east of the detail center building. But that's been changed since then.
Okay, so, I mean, there's nothing there, and there's nothing in the ground there?
Correct.
Okay, good, because I was like, when I saw that, I
Right,
didn't know,
no.
but I just saw it now, so I want to make sure that there's not going to be some issue with that. Okay, thanks, Brian.
Sure.
Anybody else have any other comments from the commission, or even the staff?
I just have one last comment. I know I've been talking a lot, but some of the things you're speaking to, some of those variation requests, I actually do prefer that you meet the locations that the code is intending for you to put. For example, the landscaping, or the variation request to just go 1 foot higher on the monument sign. Just things like that. I just want to put on the record, I do prefer the code's intention on some of those.
And I also am going to second, like, I hear all this stuff that we're giving you back stuff and all this other stuff, so do we need to revisit all those too? I mean, it sounds like we have to revisit. Are we totally in the, if it is just a ratio, and I mean, I concur with Christian on the fact that, like, and staff, I think everybody here is in agreement, yeah, you can get around it by having a monstrosity, But that's not the intent of the code, right? So smaller, but still visible from the roadway is, you know, what would be the intent, the meaningful intent of any sort of code for that? But, I mean, you know, if it's any wiggle room or gray area or something where, you know, people can work around or that, do we, I mean, unlike other times where we say, oh, well, then do that first. And then, like, we wouldn't want them building a big sign. So what is staff, you know, in terms of any recommendations on future plans to even look at that?
For the signage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, and I'm still relatively new here, so wrapping my head around our regulations, I'm still learning my way around them, so I'll just say personally, I'm open to, you know, potentially, but knowing that from other conversations, we might want to have after the comp plan, as I mentioned earlier, a more substantial look at our zoning code, you know, so in that case, it may not be some smaller, more short-term text amendment that maybe over the summer we might pursue, but in terms of being aware of some of these concerns and then that being part of a larger look and potential revision to our code, that's certainly on the table. And then just to add as another perspective, you know, this is a plan unit development, so these aren't zoning variations, they're deviations, and that is important because the standards are different. We're not needing, there's no need to demonstrate hardship, et cetera. And related, I just want to bring that up because PUDs function in a way as essentially, as I've understood it, mini zoning ordinances for this specific property, right? So, okay, you know, and for this circumstance, maybe that trade-off of having, instead of one large wall sign, multiple smaller signs that cumulatively have a smaller square footage, and that's a trade-off. That's typically, that's like the purpose of plan unit developments, is to potentially make those sorts of trade-offs and essentially function as mini zoning ordinances for the property. I do get it, big picture, long-term, you know, it is preferred to have your underlying zoning regulations be, you know, workable, and therefore then minimize the number of variation requests, and then within plan unit developments, minimize the number of deviation requests. I totally understand that, though.
Wanna piggybacking off of what you're saying for the PUD standards versus kind of the variation hardships. I would assume one's architectural enhancements, right? The other would probably be something like preservation of, you know, the natural area.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, I appreciate the architecture, but I guess looking at it, you're looking at mostly pavement from those frontages. So I guess that's where maybe we can think about the PUD a little bit more, you know, is that, what are we looking for out of this PUD, I guess?
I know what you're saying, just from aesthetics from the curb, right? I mean, for the most part, is that?
Right, I think we all kind of agree with the architecture is, you know, appreciated, but just to be clear for the applicant, like what's our overarching goal with this PUD? I would prefer more landscaping along the frontage, so that's just my take on the
Yeah,
PUD.
And so would we, but we physically can't. And the setbacks, we have to clearly state the setbacks again. Required along 191st is 10 feet. We're providing 25 feet and 5 inches. Required along Harlem Avenue, 10 feet. We're providing 24 feet. Required along our west side, 5 feet. We're providing 140 feet. Required along our south rear yard, 5 feet. We're providing 28 feet. So again, we are far, far exceeding your code requirements. And
But not in the right places.
yes, we are. It's all.
You're wanting to give us this to get that, and the two of them have nothing to do with each other.
Yes, they do. Sir, respectively, I just bordered our site on the north, the east, the south, and the west. We exceed every single setback.
So why does it look like a single row of plantings?
Where, I'm sorry.
Pretty much those borders along Harlem and 191st, it looks more like a single row
Yeah,
versus like the intent to provide enough
well, Brian,
landscaping.
could you talk a little bit about the swale and all that that's on Harlem?
Sure.
Well, there's a lot of it's the right way.
So on the east side along Harlem, there's a pretty significant drainage ditch, swale, along Harlem Avenue. Flowing to the south, there's, a need to shift our sidewalk over and kind of get into our site. That's why we have an easement that's provided. Normally, that sidewalk would be, right along the public right-of-way, but in this case, it just doesn't work. So what we have left is just kind of that straight area, and it's got a little jog in it down there as you get closer to the frontage of the detail center building to accommodate that swale.
How wide is that landscape bed along Harlem?
Well, for along Harlem, we're at 20, well, the landscape area is 25, I'm sorry, Harlem is 24 feet. The actual bed itself is probably like in the range of about 10 feet, and then the swale, then the sidewalk, and then the swale.
So can I make a suggestion, and feel free to stop me? So right now, the southern buffer yard is in line with what was approved with the PUD. So that means that if Gas and Wash built a gas station or somebody else built a strip mall, that landscaping is like the new minimum that was set by the PUD. So it is below the code, but that is what was approved in the PUD. There is space in that buffer yard area to increase the number of plantings, potentially, to more closely align with the code. So that would be them, they aren't required to do it, but that could be something that they could say, look, it's way too tight on Harlem, and the design we came up with on 191st we feel works better. Maybe we'll do a full buffer yard on the south as the code would require, even though the PUD allowed them to do less. I don't know if that's something you guys would be receptive to. I don't know that it works. I'm not a landscape architect, but that is potentially an opportunity where there can be some of this give and take that I think the Plan Commission is talking about.
I can still go back and take a look at that. I know that we went through this
Yeah.
about a week and a half ago with the revisions with our landscape architects with you.
Yeah.
So, I thought what we had done was above and beyond what was required. So, we did propose something, it was pushed back internally, and then we went back and revised it and had a meeting last week with it. So, we can take a look at it and talk to Lon and see what he thinks, but, that's where we're at with it.
Going back to the signs, because that was the other one, and I know it's in staff report, and I concur with it too. It's the nature of the animal here is that you got a lot of activity there, and so you do need signage to get the right vehicles to the right spot. Without that, that's where those issues can happen. So I know it said these requests for relief were consistent with the variations for the LaGrange site. I concur with that. I know Commissioner Hamilton said something a little bit earlier ago. In terms of the variations and whatnot, I don't think we have too many businesses that are asking for 27 signs, right? So that itself kind of indicates how busy of a site it is. Ratios are not, but people can get there, they'd have to get there with the signage. I'm not unawares of that. I think that is a needed entity there. Then the issue becomes, you know, these increases and whatnot. If there's no more comments, I just want to go, before we get to the standards, I just want to like reiterate, there's 3 motions for this. And I gotta find it. Motion 1 is the special use for the substantial deviation from the Brookside Creek Retail Center PUD. Motion 2 is the final plat, which I believe is the consolidation of the 2 properties. And then motion 3 is kind of what we've been talking about right now, is the site plan architectural approval, right? So I just wanted to reiterate that when those come up for clarity. But is there any more comments from anybody from the public wishing to speak? And then anybody from the commission, or the petitioner's team willing, have any last words here?
We're good.
Okay. Okay, with that said, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing on this.
Make a motion.
Okay, Commissioner Gaskell, seconded by Commissioner Gatto. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed, the motion is carried. We'll go on to the standards then. And you guys, you gentlemen can sit.
The standards for special use approval, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. Proposed special use will not be detrimental to the village, its residents, or visitors. That the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. Proposed special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties. That the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Brookside Creek Retail Center is a master planned commercial development, and the proposed gas station was an intended component of the overall development. That adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The proposed development will provide all necessary facilities not being provided by the master development. That adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so as designed to minimize traffic congestion on public streets. All vehicle access points are designed to minimize traffic backups onto public roadways, and sidewalks will be provided. Conform to the zoning district regulations. All requirements will be met. That's conform to the B3 zoning district regulations. All requirements will be met. And the extent to which the special use contributes directly or indirectly to the economic development of the community as a whole. Proposed development will activate a long vacant parcel in the village and provide property tax and sales tax revenue. And I have the architecture and site plan standards. We do not have a set of standards for plat approval, but it's basically if engineers are okay with it and it meets the zoning minimums, then it's good to go, and this does.
Okay, thank you, Michael. At this time, could I get a motion regarding the special use?
I make a motion to recommend that the village board grant a special use for a substantial deviation from the Brookside Creek Retail Center PUD to the petitioner Leonard McHenry of Gas and Wash to construct a gas station with a convenience store and car wash at 7201 191st Street in the B3 PD General Business and Commercial Brookside Creek Retail Center PUD zoning district in accordance with the plan submitted, and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the May 21st, 2026 staff report, subject to final engineering review and approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Martinez, seconded by Commissioner Sepasi. Lori, could I get a roll call?
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto,
No.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Manny,
No.
Commissioner Merrick,
No.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. We will go to motion 2. Can I have a reading for motion 2?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend that the village board approve the final plat of consolidation titled Gas and Wash Brookside Creek, submitted by the petitioner Leonard McHenry of Gas and Wash and dated May 4th, 2026, subject to final review and approval by the village engineer and the village attorney.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Hamilton with the second, and Commissioner Sepisi with the original motion. Lori, can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto,
No.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Manny,
No.
Commissioner Merrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Okay, motion 2, final plat is carried. We will move on to motion 3, the final motion regarding the site plan architectural approval. May I have a motion?
Chairman, I'll make another motion to grant site plan architectural approval to the petitioner Leonard McHenry of Gas and Wash for the development of a gas station with convenience store and car wash at 7201 West 191st Street in accordance with the plan submitted, and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the May 21st, 2026 staff report, subject to final review and approval by the village engineer.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sepisi, seconded by Commissioner Hamilton. Lori, could I get a roll call?
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Gatto,
No.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Manny,
No.
Commissioner Merrick,
No.
Commissioner Martinez,
No.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Chairman Gray.
Yes. Well, that is a dead heat there. So the motion is not carried for motion 3. How would this proceed to the village board if 2 of the 3?
It would still go to the village
Just
board. It's
fair
just
enough.
a-
Recommending
with
body.
no recommendation, or we would, the recommendation failed, no recommendation.
Fair enough. Okay, so
Well, it's site plan,
1 and 2 are carried, and
No, it doesn't.
3
It doesn't.
is
So,
not. But
hold on a second. So how would that, we just need plan commission approval?
They need to approve it, or have something that they're comfortable with approving.
Yeah, so with site plan is not, the special use goes to the village board, the PUD, but the site plan architectural approval stops with the plan commission, so, like override mechanism. We'll have to further look into it. It's possible they may need to come back to the plan commission, with maybe some revisions on a few matters, to obtain plan commission approval, but we'll have to look into
I
that.
think there's also an appeal mechanism where the
That's-
petitioner can seek to override your decision to the board.
That's what I was thinking, there might be that, we need to look into that mechanism. But traditionally, the site plan, so with the cell tower expansion, right, that was just site plan approval, that doesn't have to go to the village board. So that's the motion that failed here. So we'll have to look into the finer points of the code as to if there's, as Michael alluded to, like an appeal mechanism, and how that process would work, or if there's not, what the next steps would be.
Okay, fair enough. With that said, I guess the petitioner, please get with staff on what your next steps will be.
Garrett, do we have any guidance for them?
Well, I would think staff is going to get with them. Mark just said either they'll come back or they're.
Just
they may-
seek to override.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I would highly encourage that you come back here, because if half of the commissioners are not on board, that they're a representation of the stakeholders, which are the community, right? And so I think you'd want to get those details right. That would just be like a good faith thing, you know, would be to do that, right? Extend the conversation, and make appropriate steps to win over the majority. I think that would be a very good faith action to take. But, you know, get with staff on how to proceed. You know, just, okay? Good luck, gentlemen. With that, we will move on to good of the order. Staff?
I'll just keep it brief, given the time here. Just an update, Seven Brew has gotten their, a temporary CO. There's just some minor non-life safety things they need to button up. That's why it's a temp CO, and that they have a scheduled sort of grand opening for Monday on Memorial Day. And also Sports Dome, I think, will be going up with the dome in the very near future, within the next, week or so? Yeah, so those are the only two items that I have. Like I said, I'd keep it brief here, given the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. At this time, we'll move on to receiving comments from the public. Anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to close the meeting? Okay, motion made by Commissioner Manning. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Okay, motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 9:37 PM Central Time. Good night, everybody. Thanks for your time.